Most recently, request for the payroll has been asked for on 2 occasions via email and no answer. So as it stands right now, we've gone a month and a half. The last payroll that I've seen was September 1st. And we want to make sure we have this information before the next board meeting to be able to vote on.
Let's listen to Trustee Jason House as he explains why they had to implement this rule or ordinance to address the lack of necessary payroll information. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to discuss the board taking action to move things forward regarding Tiffany's administration not providing the information they need about payroll of all things.
Next on the agenda is discussion and possible action regarding ordinance number 21- amending ordinance 1-6-4 powers and duties. Trustee House.
Thank you very much. This ordinance was put up here authorizing the finance department or department heads to have conversations or to speak with the board members regarding issues or questions that they may have. I will say I put this up here specifically because there are a couple of times that I made phone calls in to department heads and they were instructed that the administration or mayor or administration would not allow for that. So I'm asking that we move this forward so that way the department heads have the access to make sure that they speak with the board members to get the information we're looking for.
Okay, it's fairly obvious. Let's hear Tiffany's response as Jason explains that they want to implement this legislation because they think Tiffany's employees aren't giving them the information they require.
Okay. Well, I hate to hear that because I never instructed anybody not to give you any payroll reports. Why would I do that? So, Chris, you're on here, Chris.
Here, she transfers accountability. Since Chris is the financial person, she will ask him to explain the situation, even though she should already be aware of it. Of course, she will pretend that she is unaware of it, but let's hear from Chris nonetheless.
So, Chris, you're on here, Chris. So we're going to get it cleared up right now. And this is what I state to you guys all the time. If y'all have an issue or something's not being done, or maybe got just dropped at the wayside for whatever reason, you guys can call my phone.
All right, everyone. I thought Chris was going to talk, but then I had to remind myself who we're dealing with. Tiffany always manages to add a few extra words before allowing anyone else to speak. At this point, she actually talked so much about defending herself and blaming the trust for not reaching out enough that she forgot she was supposed to let Chris handle the situation. Or perhaps it wasn't an error. Perhaps she did it on purpose, in the hopes that they wouldn't remember Chris. Explaining the situation. Come on, let's watch.
And with that being said, I've always gotten the information, so why would I not give it to you guys now? So that's the direction. Any other questions or concerns?
I thought Chris was going to elaborate on that because I want to make sure that I'm completely understanding because I'm here, which is also why I prefer the email, so that way there is documented communication. I'm not here to lie on anybody else, not only the mayor, Chris, anybody. The first couple of times that I had these concerns, I spoke about them privately, but I mean, trying to email it was documented, and I would love for Chris to kind of tell me, am I crazy when we spoke or what?
Okay, so Chris told you that I said you can have it? Is that what you're stating now, or what are you stating? I didn't get the question.
Yes.
Okay, Chris, come on.
Okay, so when we spoke about this, it was my understanding that the board to run these through you, these payroll reports that basically are the earnings from each payroll and the differences between last payroll and current payroll, and the subsequent report that's attached to that of any new changes in payroll. So any new hires, any changes in salaries, any of those types of items. Last we spoke, I was to run those through you.
Okay. So, Chris, that's not true as it relates to run through me, as it relates to payroll report.
Oh my goodness. She's putting Chris under the bus again. Of course, anyone who says something that contradicts her story is lying. She uses her famous line to say, "That's not true." But why would Chris just sit there and make up a conversation or communication they had about the payroll needing her approval? It doesn't make sense, but it does sound like something Tiffany Henyard would do, in my opinion. She contradicts herself all the time, and as we can see, she has no problem putting herself in a bad mood. Let's continue to watch.
Like I tell anybody, when anybody come in and ask for certain items, y'all know my phone number, call me and let me know. That's what I've told anybody that works here for me. So what I'm saying to you with a payroll report, why would I need you to give me the payroll report for the staff? Why would I don't need that. I got the same information that you're giving to the board. I'll give you the okay to say, give them the payroll report or give them the ones All those items, I've always told you to give it to him. Even when you told me that Jason came in and asked for it, I told you to what? Give it to him. So let's get it clear for the record, since we're talking about it. So I don't have to lie about anything like that. That's why I'm putting out my mouth to the board and you, Chris. Give them whatever they want, so that no one's going behind my back saying that I said something that I did not say. Because what am I going to do with a payroll report? What would be the reason for me keeping the payroll report from the Board of Trustees?
She may want to keep the payroll report from the trustees because she doesn't want them to see who is on it, or if there were any raises granted without their consent. There are probably a lot of reasons for this, but the main one is why she is, essentially accusing Chris of lying. Chris just said, "Hey, you told me to run it by you." And she turned around and called him out as a liar right away. Oh, and let's not forget that she says, "For the record," like that automatically makes everything she says the absolute truth, right? Of course, Chris doesn't have much of a backbone here. He's just following the current administration, just like he did under the previous Mayor Riley Rogers. He's probably just doing what he has to do to keep his job. Let's listen.
That you are the chairperson of finance. So all the lies need to stop. That's why I keep saying to the Board of Trustees, call my phone. That's why I say that all the time, because people will lie. People will say anything to save themselves. So just call me. That's it, and we clear it up. So now it is clear. Clerk Key, can you please call the roll?
Mayor, you recognize?
Yeah, go ahead. And just so y'all know, we got one more item, and it's 10:20.
As we can see, Tiffany remained true to her initial stance, asserting that Chris was lying and that she had not given him those orders. Let's now hear from Trustee Kiana Beller, who is essentially restating what Jason House had said before.
So glad you just stated that publicly, because I've actually even put in a FOIA and haven't received anything as an elected official. And I also, myself and Trustee Norwood, has been on the phone with Chris, and we were directed that he had to speak to the mayor. So for you to say that you haven't said it, I applaud you that this has been publicly known, because the conversations that we've had in trying to get items that we want to verify before we make informed decisions has not been provided to us. So thank you for saying that, and hopefully the information that is being requested is provided to us in a timely manner, especially if it's something that we have to vote on.
However, the mayor's response to this is really interesting. It felt like Baylor might have been trying to extend an olive branch, but maybe I'm reading too much into it. What do you all think? Do you feel there was an undertone I might have missed? Let's hear Tiffany's response. In my opinion, Trustee Kiana Baylor was giving the mayor some credit for speaking up publicly and holding Chris accountable, because from what we can see, Chris may have been lying. Chris isn't defending himself. So it appears that she is essentially praising Tiffany for rectifying the situation.
Because myself and Trustee Norwood have experienced that Chris stated it had to be emailed and I guess ran through you before it can come to us, and we still have not received the items.
Okay, so I know, again, nothing about that. And I just said it. I'm going to say it again for you. Call my phone if you had a problem, Trustee Belcher. So obviously it wasn't a big enough problem for you to call the mayor to get it addressed. So as it relates to FOIAs, I'm not over FOIAs. So let's get it clear when everybody keep putting stuff out there. The mayor don't do FOIAs. I don't respond to a FOIA. That's the clerk's office. So if it's something you did not get, you need to contact her office to make sure you get that item. As it relates to financials, again, I just stated that and I'm going to say it again. Any financial information that you guys want, you can receive. I'm not holding to it. I'm not holding it up. It is for everyone. Even community can basically FOIA financials here in the village of Dolton and get the information. So that's why I'm saying to you again publicly, I didn't say that. That's untrue as it relates to you guys getting information. And I just told Chris to give y'all all the information that y'all need. So if it's something you need, make sure you get it from him. But I will say this and add this too. You guys do not run day-to-day operations. As it relates to going into people's departments or interrupting their work schedule, you guys have to doing that and make sure that y'all either send them an email so that they can oblige to whatever it is that some of you guys go and request them of. So just make sure we can keep that in line, then it's fine. I have no issues.
Now, let's hear Trustee Kiana Baylor's response. Tiffany appears to be on the defensive, which is nothing new for her, but let's play devil's advocate for a moment. If she is telling the truth, anyone would be upset if someone blatantly lied about something they supposedly said but didn't. That being said, I have a feeling that's not quite what actually happened, and Chris isn't speaking up about it at all.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And in reference, just to clear up the FOIA situation, the only reason I FOIA'd it is because I wasn't able to get it. So I'm a resident before an elected official. So that was the only reason. So I understand that you're not over the clerk's office, but I just wanted to be clear on why I did that, because I tried to obtain it as being an elected official to make an informed decision and wasn't given the information. So that's something that was done. So I just want to be very clear on that. Okay. But thank you so much.
Right, but you just stated that you FOIA something and didn't get it. And what I'm saying to you, if you didn't get it, I got nothing to do with FOIAs or whatever information come back from the FOIA officer, which is the clerk.
The more you watch these board meetings, the more you realize that Tiffany isn't really listening. You hear them go back and forth, and you're left wondering if she actually heard what Kiana just said, or if she was just waiting for her turn to speak and defend herself. Tiffany always feels the need to make herself look good, as if she must be seen in this ideal light. She even claimed to be a lighthouse for Dolton, and at one point she even compared herself to Jesus.
At the end of the day, they talked about Jesus Christ. So why don't I think y'all are not going to do me the same way? Somebody that's healing y'all and helping y'all. Same thing I'm over here doing, right? Healing and helping.
She's always campaigning, and it's obvious that nothing will stop her from getting votes. Now that some other trustees would want to weigh in on this, let's listen to what they have to say.
Anyone else?
Yes.
That
Who's it? Trustee Steve? Go ahead.
All right. So let's make this very clear. Chris, you will give the payroll reports that we haven't received in about a month and a half. The trustee house said we'll get them tomorrow.
I have Zoom trainings in the morning for the new software, but in the afternoon, I do have a break in between. So by the afternoon at the latest, you should have the last few payroll reports.
Thank you.
You said payroll's in a month and a half. I think he just said y'all didn't get it over a week, right? Trustee House?
No, I've not gotten one since September 1st. The August 27th payroll was the last one, which is the entire month of September, as well as the early one in October.
Okay, so you do know my number, right? Could have got the situation.
Your emails, I'm not, and I'll say this because there is a lot of back and forth. I included it via email, and not only yourself, Chris, administrator, all attorneys, because we get in here and then everything goes different. I wish it didn't, but it does. So I would rather, and also, as you mentioned, to not be intrusive on the employee's work. So I'm not trying to be difficult, and I really wasn't going to chime in again, but I was. All of this was done via email.
Okay, so and again, I'm gonna keep saying it. Y'all call me if y'all got an issue. Go ahead, Trustee Norwood, and then we're gonna call her out.
Trust Brittany Norwood had something to add, so let's listen. Now that we hear Trustee House giving us more background, he explains that he even emailed her about these issues, but once again, she didn't respond or communicate. The trustees haven't received the payroll information in months, despite her claims that it was only a few weeks. Of course, we're supposed to believe her since it's for the record.
I was just going to state that I'm glad that moving forward, Chris stated that he'll be able to assist us because there was a moment where I was quite frustrated while I was going over the warrant list. And I had a question. I did have Trustee Belcher on the phone, and we called Chris, but we weren't provided with the information because we were told that we had to, for whatever reason, we had to go through you to get the information instead. So I just thankfully, he's just stated moving forward, we won't have any issues receiving payroll, and then he'll be able to answer our questions. So thank you, Chris, and thank you, Mayor.
No problem. Okay, can you call the roll to move forward to the next agenda?
They are essentially voting on the trustee house ordinance that was previously mentioned. Its purpose is to ensure that the trustees and the administration communicate better, giving them the information they require and holding them accountable. They all voted in favor of it, making it clear that the lack of communication necessitated the creation of this ordinance. Speaks for itself. This leads us to the most recent Thornton Township Board meeting, where Tiffany Henyard serves as the supervisor. I'll play this video for you all to see how these same habits persist, even when they don't occur in Dolton. Tiffany manages to place the blame on others despite being the same denominator in both cases. Let's have a look.
Right? That's a typo. Okay, anybody when y'all want to pay bills? Up in? Y'all don't pay nobody? Y'all want to give a reason why we not paying bills tonight?
Okay, so again, it was to put, organization and structure and responsible spending in place. And since those ordinances were not placed on the agenda, I don't feel comfortable supporting the spending. So once the ordinances are put in place and supported, I'll feel more comfortable if there's structure, organization, and a limit set and is forced, not forced, but just enforced that there's responsible spending with the township fund.
We've seen this type of behavior before in Dolton, where Tiffany simply adds her own items to the agenda and ignores what the trustees or anyone else want to include. However, as we can see, she's pulling the same shenanigans over in Thornton Township, and now the trustees there are starting to sound a lot like the Dolton trustees. What's happening here is that the trustees are essentially at a standstill and are refusing to vote on the bills because they wanted to include an ordinance on the agenda, but it wasn't.
But my minutes are not placed on the agenda. Why my minutes are not being put on this agenda to be approved, I do not understand. Don't get to put anything on the meeting agenda, and neither do I. It was removed from my office so that the mayor can control the agenda. That's why no one up here can put anything on this agenda but her.
But once more, what unites the two circumstances is who else? Tiffany Henyard. All right, that's it for today. If you liked this video, please remember to like it, and if you're new, please subscribe to Celebrity Insider for future updates. Thank you for watching.